Start by saying it's such an honor to be up here with you. I got chills at the end of the movie there, just thinking about where you started and all you've accomplished and all you've given to the world. We're very lucky to have benefited from that.
Well, I was lucky to meet the Asia Society, I think.
Yes. All these years later, I'm happy on behalf of the Asia Society to accept your belated delivery of this commissioned film. Perhaps you can start by telling us how that commission came about. How did you get in touch with the Asia Society? How did this come to be?
You know, I don't really know the answer to that anymore. I don't remember exactly how I first knew about the Asia Society. I must have had a friend who knew Paul Sherbert, who was the head of it, or yes, I had some friends. The Swopes, David Swope and his mother and sister and father. And I think through them, I came to know Paul Sherbert.
And as you said, they had seen your first two films, The Sword and the Flute and the Venice film.
Right.
I was telling you actually upstairs in our offices on the fourth floor, I found a 16 millimeter faded reel of The Sword and the Flute from who knows when. So I think it's so extraordinary that you've had this long relationship. I think you've done other things here over the years as well, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have. I kind of dropped out from my responsibilities to the Asia Society, which basically was to finish the film on Delhi that I was making, which they had sent me to India to make. And I did finish that. It was called The Delhi Way. It was my third documentary. And but then I didn't do anything with the Afghan footage because I got involved almost immediately. Having met Ismail and Ruth, I got involved almost immediately in making feature films, dramatic films. And so all those reels of 16 millimeter color footage that I had done in Kabul in and around were just kept in my closet. And from time to time, I would take them out and run them for people, and they'd all say, "Wow, that's so wonderful, and you gotta edit that and stuff." But I would put it away and not do it.
Well, the footage looks beautiful, but I think you set it aside for good reason. You made your first feature film, The Householder. As the film points out, such a fortuitous meeting between you, Ismail, and Ruth. There's a beautiful passage from your autobiography, Solid Ivory, which great title, by the way.
That was that was my nickname in high school.
But there's a passage where you talk about meeting Ismail at the India House, and you write that every time I walk by the Indian consulate and its grand stairs, I wonder why there isn't a plaque stating this is where James Ivory met Ismail Merchant. Right. I think there certainly ought to be. But can you talk a little bit more about, what that was like first meeting Ismail and how that relationship blossomed, both in terms of the work, but also in terms of falling in love and
Well, I wanted to go back to India and do some more shooting on the Delhi Way because I was missing things, and and Ismail was he'd come he went to the NYU Film School and made a film there, which then got nominated for an Oscar, and he went out to Los Angeles for the Oscars. It didn't win, but it was a dance film, and he then came back, and he just happened to some friends told him to go and see the Sword and the Flute. My second film was being screened, and he did, and then he just came up to me afterwards and said how much he liked it, and as politely as possible said he was surprised that an American could make such a movie. But anyway, we became friends, and we went eventually for coffee and stuff like that. And then the plan was to try and see a Ray film if something was playing, but nothing was. So.
And then you made a film together. You made The Householder together.
Yeah, well, then I did go back. Ismail returned to India, and I then went back a few months later to do that shooting for The Delhi Way. But by this time, he was all excited about possibly making a feature film, The Householder, from a novel by Ruth Jandwala. He had met a writer, an American writer who knew that book and gave it to him to read and said, you know, they would never ever make a story like this in Hollywood, but you could make it. It was The Householder is a novel set in Delhi about a poor married couple and with mother-in-law problems. And they said, she said, you could make that into a film. So he had the idea of doing The Householder even then. And when we got back to India, he was pretty sure that he could raise the money for it. God knows how he did it. I never ever knew how he got the money together for it. And not only did we make that film, we made two versions of it. We made a Hindi version and we made an English language version. And we shot them depending how articulate the actors were with one language or the other, we would do that scene first, and then or switch and go around the other way. If someone was better in English than in Hindi, and we made those two versions, and then sold them by a miracle to Columbia Pictures.
And you mentioned your shared affinity for Ray films. He did the music, but I didn't realize he also edited the film.
Yes, when we made Shakespeare Walla in 1965, I asked him if he would write the music for it, and he said he would.
When did it become apparent to you that this trio, you, Ruth, and Ismail, that there was something magical happening there? Did you have a sense from the beginning that?
I don't know. When we went to meet Ruth in Delhi, and we asked her, we had that idea of making a film out of The Householder, and said, well, you can write the screenplay. You wrote the novel. You should be able to write the screenplay. And neither of us having any idea. I'd never bothered to read screenplays or knew about them very much, and I don't know whether he did. But anyway, we said that to Ruth, you write the screenplay, and she said, well, I wouldn't know how to write a screenplay. And then he said, as described in the movie, well, Jim's never directed a film, and I've never produced one. So, and that was it.
And
that's how it was.
You talk, there's another beautiful line in the movie that's in the book as well about two determined gay men coming to rule the world. What was that like at the time, navigating your sexuality?
There was no navigating in those days. I mean, at least we were making our movies, and nobody got in our way or caused us trouble, or I mean, there must have been, there's always gossip and stuff, but it wasn't a problem. I didn't have to go through all those terrible things that so many people went through, including guilt.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, even the way you talk about your early childhood is so idyllic, and seems to be quite free of anguish.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I grew up in a loving family. Yeah, thank God.
I'm sure there's some questions in the audience, so if you have one, just throw your hand up, and I think we might have a mic out here. Over here, in the second row.
Thank you. I'm curious if you know about the current status or fate of Babur's tomb that you depicted in the last scene of the film.
Well, I haven't seen it since then. I mean, I don't, but I'm sure that they're very respectful of it. I think I'm sure it's probably enlarged, and there's probably a tomb on top of a tomb and all that kind of thing. Yeah. I'm sure there are other questions.
Last night, I saw an old friend of yours. He say hello to you as Anthony Costanzo. He was in one of your movies.
Yes, he was.
And today I was with William Christie. He also say hello to you. He was in one of your films too.
Who did?
William Christie.
Oh, really? Oh, how wonderful. Where was he?
He's in New York now, but he's at the Frick tonight. He would have come, but somebody invited him to the Frick, the opening of the Frick. So he said, just say hello to James Ivory for me.
Gosh, we owed an awful lot to him when we made Jefferson in Paris. I mean, he appeared in the film as well.
Mr. Ivory, my name is Razid Season. I'm from the part of the world that you once lived with our boy, Ismail. I saw your film first time when I was teenager. I was doing a film appreciation course in my late teenage, Shakespeare Walla. And that influenced me a lot because when I saw your name, I thought, this dude is not from here. But the film that I saw is phenomenal. I didn't believe that in 60s the film was made. I saw Satyajit's film, and he collaborated in this film, Shakespeare Walla. He was the music director. So it was part of our text in the film appreciation course. Later, I explored your films like Bombay Talkie and other films like Morris. So and I make films now. And your film influenced me in this sense, like it was very diversified, very inclusive, and even you were not from India, you made films in very authentic way that would a native may make such way. So I made films like that also include about in Arabic and Yiddish, like about Holocaust, and. So you have been a great inspiration to me. I have one question. Ismail made a film in custody. I like Bombay Talkie, Shakespeare Walla, your Morris. These are my favorite films. Ismail made in custody. How did you collaborate in that film? It was very good.
Well, I don't know, I didn't really collaborate. He knew what he wanted to do and got at it and only had so much time and only so much money. And I didn't want to interfere. And normally when Ismail would make a film somewhere or other, and often it was in India, I would just go visit on the set a little bit. I would come from New York and I would just go and visit on the set for, I'd stay a few days. I didn't want to get in his hair too much. And then I would leave. And that happened also with In Custody. We were shooting in oh God, where were we where did we make In Custody? No, not Lucknow. Anyway, never mind. You'll have to look it up. But I went there and hung around, and occasionally I would. But he didn't need much help from me. I remember there was one day that he tore up some pages of the script and just shoved it in his pocket. And he wasn't going to shoot that. He got on very well, I think. But then I would pipe up and say, I think if you did something like this, it might be better. Or if you didn't do that. But I didn't like interfering. I never did.
What was your working relationship like when you were directing, as was more often the case? Was he very involved on set?
Sometimes he wouldn't be around. I mean, he'd be off somewhere. I mean, he might go to India, you know, or Los Angeles, wherever. I mean, he didn't have to be there. And but I always liked it when he came on the set. And he started a sort of custom on our sets, which was on Friday night he would cook. And he would cook for the crew, and we'd also see the rushes. Whatever, if we were at a place where you could see rushes, and so we'd see rushes, and then he'd cook, and we'd have a really nice Friday night.
Yes, there's the
and we
famous.
Here's something about Merchant Ivory: we didn't believe in working on weekends. we didn't. We just had a thing. We had a thing about not working on Saturdays and Sundays. Now, that didn't mean you didn't work. I mean, you had to do a million things for the film on those days, but we did not shoot on the weekend.
Oh, how refreshing.
So,
we have time for one more, maybe?
Yeah. Hey, Bombay Talkies has one of the most creative and interesting opening credit sequences in any film, where you have the actual credits as physically manifested around the city. And just wondering how the idea, what the inspiration for that was, how that came about?
I didn't quite get the question.
Oh, the opening credits of Bombay Talkies?
Oh, the typewriter?
Yeah, and then so the actual credits being physical props that have taken around Bombay with the Shankar Jaikishan tune. It's a very original.
The what?
The opening credits of the film. They're like the titles are physically painted on different objects moving around the city.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they were like those, like the advertisements for movies for Hindi films. Yeah, we just borrowed some of their artists, I think, and did our own cast pictures and this, that, and the other, that sort of thing. We got it from Hindi films.
Yeah, I believe that was homaged by Wes Anderson too. That opening. Do you have favorites among your films? I mean, you made so many.
Well, there are none that I wish I'd never made. I'm okay. There's none that I have to hang my head or hide. I like all my films really, but some I like more than others. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to see them on a big screen. I mean, it's not that easy to see an old film on a big screen. You have to work. I'm lucky when some of our, like last night, I was able to see Morris, which was being shown at the Paris Theater. And now I haven't seen Morris on a big screen in years and years, and I went last night and enjoyed it very much. So I like doing that. If I can, seeing my films. One of the films that I like very much, it didn't do awfully well, but I think it's a really good film, and that's Mr. and Mrs. Bridge with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. I think that's one of our best films, and I'm quite immodestly pleased with them on the whole.
I don't think you're wrong to be. And I'm, again, so honored that you joined us here. We'd love to have you back. Thank you for being here. Thanks for delivering this film to the Asia Society. And
yes, after 60 years.
Yes, 60 years. Better late than never.